All right. My take is that I think in this day and age, what we need most, more than almost anything else, is kindness and gentleness and meekness, similar to what the Bible prescribed as the traits of those that would inherit the earth. Um, I think there is a severe lack of empathy in today's society that comes from a root of a few things that are normal human factors. One being a desire for growth, a desire for success, for sustainability, survival, in a sort of small view kind of outlook. So people believing that they need to have certain things to survive, in other words, that they don't actually need. Believing that they are somehow in some scarcity that encourages them to reach out and take what isn't theirs and what isn't good for them or for the world at large. So that's one part. The first part, we could just call it greed, okay? The second part is the disconnection from not only each other in a very unnatural, I think, way, a disconnection from each other as like animals, as living beings that could work together. There's a disconnection there. And also the replacement of those human connections with connections of technology or connections of tools, connections of ideas or bodies of work that we would then substitute for our connection to other people. And the continuation of this is that because of these lacks of connections, there is a lack of shared values, maybe a lack of shared reality, and it encourages and precipitates, in my opinion. I'm sorry this is so wordy. I'll probably remake it with where it's less wordy. But basically, these factors of us being disconnected from our fellow peers and being connected to technology instead of that, and not being connected to the kind of natural state of being, which is competition and collaboration. But now we are in a state of almost entirely competition, and it has given rise to apathy, and I think that's another big issue. So we have greed on the rise and high, extremely high, and then we have apathy that is also extremely high right now. And these things are, I think there's more factors, but we could just say these for now. These two factors are greatly inhibiting our ability to empathize, our ability to connect, and our ability to be grounded in the world today. What we have today is a group of people that would constitute all of humankind essentially separated, created into cellular, extreme separation, dissipation. It's like everyone in the world is their own prisoner in a prison cell, and the way out is not clear because there's no connection to each other, and because we fear our deaths because things seem so scarce. I know that sounds kind of astounding, but I do believe if you ask most people how they feel about their security in society, I do think you would hear a lot of survivor mentality. I'm just trying to make it paycheck to paycheck. For some people, they might say, there's all these people coming in who are different and I don't really know who they are or how they're going to act. For some people, they might say, there's a whole group of people that are all working against me and working against people who are like me to basically push down my viability and my self-interest. So all these people they're different groups of people, but they all have a similar idea, and there's crossover for sure. But they all have this idea of almost like the end is nigh, sort of, is kind of being evoked from their spirits. And I believe that this is a big part of why. And by this, I mean the greed and the apathy and the way the technology has evolved and the way that our society has kind of capitalized on us all being so insulated and insular and basically just being completely lonesome, separated souls that do not have many obvious pathways to connection. So all these things are really, really bad, as we can see. And you might not prescribe to anything I say. You may think I'm full of shit. Fair enough. This is my take. You can have your own take. But I do believe that gentleness, kindness, and kind of even learning to turn the other cheek and these sorts of things, letting the bad guys kind of win sometimes, let them get their wins. I believe that is ironically a part of the way to heal the disaster that has become planet Earth under forces of unending greed and apathy. So to finish what I'm saying, if you allow into your spirit a kindness and an ability to let go of winning the game, of having the most friends, of having the biggest house, the best car, if you let go of winning the argument, if you let go of being the prettiest boy or girl at the ball, if you let go of these things, not that you need to let them go forever, but let go of them in times where you feel overwhelmed, I do believe that will bring more peace to the earth. And I also believe that even though it seems like that's just giving up, I believe that allowing a pure response and a response that is rooted in a true reality of connection to other beings is going to have a more profound effect than, killing all of your enemies. It might be effective to kill all your enemies, but the killing won't end. So I think right now what we need is people who could model the life of, and I know nobody's really perfect, so I'm sure some people could historically look at some of these figures and be like, oh yeah, this person did this, or they did that, or this person didn't actually do that. I'm not going to try to debate that some of these people may have taken on a mythical archetype, but I am going to state that myth or no myth, I do believe that there is a seed of truth that is planted in the heart of every man, woman, child, and also any other type of being that they represent themselves on, whether that's trans or anything like that. It's inside of everybody, and I think if we let that kind of flourish, let that bloom, and behaving as if we were like Jesus Christ or Buddha or Gandhi, Mother Teresa. Again, I think some of these people probably have some controversies in their past, or maybe subject to, someone saying, hey, this is actually bullshit, blah, blah, blah. Maybe there's some things I missed. But overall, the idea that when someone strikes you, that you stand up, but you don't strike them back, and you forgive them, or you offer them your hand, this kindness can penetrate the hardness of the world that has decimated our existence at this point in our society. So that is my point, that is my belief, and I hope that could be useful to some people. I don't think necessarily you should always choose the path of most resistance and be the most kind person you should be. I'm going to be genuine. I don't think that that's how any person should really live, but I do think it's good to strive towards that, and I think that that will be healing for the world, and I think it'll be healing for you. It also will give you troubles. So if you don't want any troubles, then I would not take my advice here. But anyway, I hope you're doing well. Love you, and you are awesome. Sorry, I'm awkward.